Hi everyone, it's Kathy. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I'll be sharing how to create a very quick and easy slimline card for St. Patrick's Day. I'll be using the Slimline Windows die and the Slimline St. Patrick's Day patterned paper pack. I'll also be using the large Happy Word die as well as the Happy Sayings stamp set. In addition to creating a quick and easy St. Patrick's Day card, I'll also share how to create a slimline envelope to go with your card, and for that I'll feature the slimline envelope edgers. So while I was yapping there, what I did was I selected a couple of pieces from the Slimline St. Patrick's Day patterned paper pack, and I used a pencil just to make little marks so I would know where to cut the cardstock so that I could be very specific on what windows were cut with my Slimline Windows die. Once I had the pieces of cardstock cut down to size, I used removable tape just to hold them in place on my die, and then once I had them taped down, I ran that through my die cutting machine. I decided to pull in another piece of the patterned paper from the Slimline St. Patrick's Day paper pack to fill in the final little square. And I did the same thing. I just used my pencil to make a mark on my cardstock so I would know what size to cut it down to. As far as the frame goes, I did run that through my die cutting machine with a piece of green cardstock, and I used liquid glue to adhere that to the card base. My card base started out at 8.5 by 7. I scored it at 3.5 inches on the 7-inch side, so my finished card is 3.5 by 8.5. After I adhered my Slimline frames die cut to my card front, I just used liquid glue to adhere the patterned paper into the little squares. I ran that large Happy Word die through my die cut machine with some gold glitter cardstock, and then I cut it 2 more times from white scratch cardstock so I could stack it for a little bit of dimension. I did heat emboss the word St. Patty's Day from the Happy Sayings stamp set, and I used gold embossing powder for that on a piece of black cardstock and ran it through my die cut with a fishtail banner. I added a little bit of foam tape to the back of that and adhered that to the front of the card, and that finishes up my card. Moving on, to create an envelope for a slimline card, I started out with a piece of 12 by 12 paper that I picked up from a big box store. And this paper is a little bit heavier than regular printer paper, but it's thinner than cardstock. It's a really good weight for envelopes. I cut it down to 10.25 by 10.25 inches. And then with my scoreboard, and this is a Martha Stewart scoreboard, it comes with that little envelope template that slides on the front of the scoreboard. So once I had that little triangle in place, I lined up my paper against the angle of the triangle piece on my scoreboard, and I scored at 2 7/8 of an inch, and I used the measurements that are actually on that triangle piece. Then I rotated my paper 90 degrees and scored at 5 3/8 of an inch. Rotated it one more time 90 degrees and scored at 2 7/8. And the last score is at 5 3/8 of an inch. Don't worry, I'll have all of those measurements listed in the description box below for you, as well as all of the products that I used. After I had the scoring done, I folded along those score lines, and then I used my scissors to cut out the little triangles where the score lines intersected. Once I had the little triangles cut out, I folded up the bottom flap of my envelope. I used a ruler and a pencil to draw a line so I could cut off the excess paper from the bottom flap. Next, I used my tape runner to adhere the bottom flap up, and I do recommend putting the adhesive on the smaller flaps just to make sure you don't end up gluing your envelope closed. Now for the Slimline envelope edger dies, to get that in just the right place, I closed the envelope by bringing the top flap down, lined up the die where I wanted it to cut, and held it in place with some removable tape. The big thing to remember here is that you want to fold that top flap all the way back before running it through your die cut machine, otherwise you'll cut all the way through the envelope. After I had run that through my die cut machine, I removed the die and snipped off the edge there a little bit, and that's it. That's how easy it is to make a slimline envelope. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed, we'd love it if you would. And don't forget to ring the bell so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.